Hi guys, I hope you all are doing well and welcome to the next video of this entire series of Exchange Server 2019. In the last video, we talked about Mailbox database in Exchange 2019. In this particular video, we will be talking about recipients in Exchange. We will understand what type of recipients are available in Exchange 2019, how do they work, and how to manage those recipients. A recipient is a mail-enabled object in Active Directory. Any object that has an email address assigned is called mail-enabled object, and these objects are called recipients in an Exchange organization. In Exchange 2019, there are multiple types of recipients: user mailbox, linked mailbox, remote mailbox, resource mailboxes, shared mailbox, mail users, mail contacts, mail-enabled groups, and mail-enabled public folders. All these mail-enabled objects are called recipients in Exchange organization. So let's discuss these recipients one by one in detail. A user mailbox is a mail-enabled object that has a user account in Active Directory and has a mailbox assigned. A user mailbox can send and receive emails, can access calendar, and other Exchange services. Users who have a mailbox can use multiple client applications to access their mailbox contents or to send and receive emails. For example, they can use Outlook client, Outlook on the web, or Exchange ActiveSync to access their mailbox contents. Next type of recipient is linked mailbox. Before we discuss linked mailbox, we need to understand what is resource forest in Active Directory. In Active Directory, there are three forest design models. As per the business requirement, we can deploy any one of these three models. These models are organizational forest model, restricted access forest model, and resource forest model. Organizational forest model is the simplest model among these three forest models. In this model, an organization has one Active Directory forest that contains objects and organizations' resources. If this is a big organization, they can have two or three forests as well, like each forest for a different department. If users from one forest need to access the resources those are located in other forest, a trust relationship can be created between these forests. The second type of forest model is restricted forest model. In this type of model, we can have multiple forests, but there is no trust relationship between these forests. So users from one forest cannot access the resources of another forest. This design is used in high security environments because it creates extremely strong isolation boundaries. And the third type of forest model is resource forest model. In this model, we can have multiple Active Directory forest. In this type of model, user accounts are created in organizational forest, that is also called account forest, and a separate forest is created where we can accommodate company resources or the services. The forest that contains the company resources or the services is called resource forest. Resource forest doesn't contain user accounts. It contains accounts those are required for service administration only. If the users from the account forest want to access the resources those are located in the resource forest, we can create a trust relationship between these forests. The main benefit of creating a resource forest is to isolate the forest and the services. If one forest goes down, the other forest will continue to operate. So this type of forest model is called resource forest model. Now let's come back to linked mailbox. Let's assume we have an account forest and one resource forest. We have deployed Exchange Server in resource forest so that the users from other trusted forest can access the Exchange services. Now let's say our organization has merged with another organization that has a different Active Directory forest, and these users also want to access Exchange services. So in this model, the user account that will access Exchange services will remain in the account forest, And we create disabled user accounts for the same users in the resource forest where Exchange Server is deployed. And this disabled user account is associated with the linked mailbox. So if we go by definition, a linked mailbox is a mailbox that is associated with an external account. In this type of model, we create a one-way outgoing trust so that the Exchange forest can trust the account forest. If you want to create a linked mailbox in Exchange Server, you need to first deploy resource forest in Active Directory. You need to set up Exchange Server in resource forest. If you do not have this setup, you will not be able to create a linked mailbox in Exchange Server. The next type of recipient is remote mailbox. A remote mailbox consists of a mail-enabled user in your on-premise Active Directory and an associated mailbox in your cloud-based service, for example, Office 365. Next type of recipient is resource mailbox. Resource mailbox is of two types, room mailbox and equipment mailbox. A room mailbox is assigned to a physical location, for example, a conference room or a training room. With room mailboxes, users can easily reserve these rooms by including room mailboxes in their meeting request. An equipment mailbox is assigned to a resource that is not location specific. For example, a computer, projector, microphone, or a company car. After an admin creates an equipment mailbox, users can easily reserve this equipment by including the corresponding equipment mailbox in a meeting request. For example, if you need access to a projector that is a company resource, an admin will create an equipment mailbox with name projector, and users can book that projector adding the equipment mailbox in the meeting invite. Next recipient type is shared mailbox. A shared mailbox is required when multiple users want to access same mailbox. An administrator can assign permissions for those users on the shared mailbox, and users can access the shared mailbox either from Outlook client or from OWA. All the emails or meeting invites of a shared mailbox can be accessed by the users depending on the permission level. A mail contact is a mail-enabled object that contains information about people who exist outside your organization. Each mail contact has an external email address. You need to create mail contact if you want external users to be a part of your global address list. Or let's say if you want external users to reflect in your global address list, you need to create a mail contact for that user in your Exchange organization. A mail user is similar to a mail contact. It also has an external email address. But the difference between a mail contact and mail user is a mail user has logon credentials. A perfect example of mail user is when you deploy Exchange Hybrid using HCW. The on-premise mailbox accounts are provisioned on Office 365 as mail-enabled mail users. And when you migrate them to Office 365 and when you assign license, these mail user accounts are provisioned as user mailboxes in Office 365. The next type of recipient in Exchange Server is mail-enabled groups. In Exchange Server, we can create three types of mail-enabled groups: distribution group, dynamic distribution group, and security group. A distribution group is used to distribute emails to multiple recipients. If you have to send one email to multiple users, or let's say to 100 users, you cannot type their email addresses one by one. Instead of this, you can create a distribution group, add 100 users within the distribution group as members, and send email to the distribution group itself. As soon as distribution group will receive that email, it will distribute a copy of that email to each member. Dynamic distribution group is similar to distribution group. The only difference is the way you add members in dynamic distribution group. In dynamic distribution group, you can add members on the basis of conditions. You can filter membership of a dynamic distribution group on the basis of city, department, state, or other attributes of the user accounts. And security group is used to assign bulk permissions. Let's say as an administrator, you need to assign same permission for multiple users. So we will add those users within the security group. We will assign permission on the security group itself, and all users will inherit the same permission from the security group. And the next type of recipient in Exchange Server is public folders. Public folders are designed for shared access or collaboration. Public folders provide an easy and effective way to collect, organize, and share information with other people in your organization. You can store information in public folders in a deep hierarchy, and users can add the public folders in Outlook or OWA, and they can easily browse the contents of the public folders. So now let's move to the Exchange server and let me show you practically how to manage these recipients. To manage recipients in Exchange Admin Center, you will log into Exchange Admin Center as an administrator, and then you will navigate to recipients. Under recipients, you will see mailboxes, groups, resources, contacts, and shared mailboxes. So let me show you one by one how you can create these recipients. To create a user mailbox, you will click on plus, and from here you can select user mailbox or linked mailbox. If you want to create a user mailbox, you will click on user mailbox. On this particular screen, it will ask you if you are trying to add a new user and a new mailbox, or you are going to assign a mailbox for a user account that already exists in Active Directory. If this is a new user, you will click on new user, assign it an alias, assign first name, last name, and then you will select the organizational unit or the OU where you want to save this user. So click on browse, and from here you can select the organizational unit. Click OK. Then you will assign a user logon name for this particular user. Assign it password. Click on more options. And from here you can select in which mailbox database you want to save this particular mailbox. Click on browse. If you have multiple databases, you can select any database where you want to store this mailbox. For example, I want to store this user in this mailbox. I'll double click on this and this mailbox database will be selected. After that, it will ask you if you want to enable archive mailbox for this particular user. Now, this is not an online archive. This is an archive mailbox that will be provisioned for this user mailbox within on-premise Exchange server. If you enable this, after that, you will have to select the mailbox database. In which mailbox database you want to store the archive mailbox for this particular user. You can select the database, and from here you can assign address book policy if you have any, and then click Save. So this is how you can create a user mailbox. And here you can see in brackets, it says archive. So that means archive is enabled for this test user one mailbox. If you want to create linked mailbox, you can click here. However, for that, as I said, you need a resource forest deployed in your Active Directory. I do not have that environment, so I will not be able to show you how to create linked mailbox. Next is groups. Under groups, you can create three types of groups. First is distribution group. Let's see how to create it. Under display name, you can assign a name, for example, DG1, same alias. Next, you need to select organizational unit, in which organizational unit you want to store this particular group. You can select any organizational unit, or if you want to create a new one, you can go to domain controller and go to users and computers. Expand your domain. And here you can create a new organizational unit. Go to OU and let's give it a name, groups. Click OK. Let's go back to Exchange Server. Let me close this. And let's create distribution group again with display name DG1, alias DG1. Now let's go to browse. Here we can see the groups OU. Select this, click OK. Now this group will be created under groups OU. Under honors, you can add the honor for this particular group. You can add the members as well. Like if you want to distribute emails, you can add the members, and rest you can select all the options as per your requirement. Once done, click on save, and this will create a distribution group. If you want to create a dynamic distribution group, you will click on dynamic distribution group. Again, you will give it a name, select the organizational unit, add the honors. For example, I'll go with admin. Under members, you will see all these conditions. If you compare this group with distribution group, in distribution group, we simply add members by clicking plus and we can add the members. But in case of dynamic distribution group, we have an option to add the members on the basis of conditions. So these are the conditions. You can select users with Exchange mailboxes. So that means all the users who has mailboxes within your Exchange organization, those users will be part of this dynamic distribution group. If I select second option that says mail users with external email addresses, so that means all of the mail users that you have in your Exchange server with external email addresses, those will be part of this dynamic distribution group. Again, for resource mailboxes, mail contacts, and mail enabled groups. Let's say you do not want to go with any one of these conditions. So you can do it on the basis of rule as well. You can select the attributes of the users, let's say state or company or department. For example, I'll go with department. If department attribute of a particular user or a mailbox or a group is set to HR, then that particular object will be part of this dynamic distribution group. So I have created this condition here. Let me add it again. I didn't click on plus. Okay, so that is created. Now we will go to users and we will go to organization. Under department, we will add HR. So what does it mean? Any user who has HR set as department, that particular user or the group will be part of that dynamic distribution group. So like this, you can create conditions for dynamic distribution group membership. And the third type of group is security group. As we discussed, security group is used to assign bulk permissions. So to create security group, you will assign a display name, then alias. You will select the organizational unit, and you will add the honors and you will add the members. For example, test user 1. Click save. Now, if you want to assign a permission to multiple users, you can add all those users under the security group and assign permission to this security group. So automatically all of the members of this security group will inherit that permission from this security group. Next is resources. Resources are of two types, room mailbox and equipment mailbox. If you want to create room mailbox, you will give it a name, alias, and then select organizational unit. Let's create it under users. And next, you will select the mailbox database. And again, you can assign address book policy. Click save. So this room mailbox is created. If you want to create equipment mailbox, you can give it a name, test equipment, for example. Select the OU, select the database where you want to store this mailbox and click save. Now room mailbox and equipment mailbox is created. Now how this can be used, users will go to their Outlook client or OWA. When they will create a meeting, they will add a room mailbox within the location. So that means if this room says conference room 1, so this conference room 1 within the organization can be blocked for a certain duration. Same way, if you want to use an equipment of your company or a company resource, you can go to Outlook or OWA, create a meeting, add the equipment mailbox, and add it for a certain duration. So the access for that particular equipment will be provided to you based on the meeting duration that you have created. Next is contacts. Under contacts, we can create mail contact and mail user. If you want to create mail contact, you can give it a name, test contact one, for example. Okay, this is first name, last name, test contact one, alias contact one. External email address, we will mention like contact at gmail.com, a random email address, and then select the OU and click save. While creating the mail contacts or mail users, you don't have to select the database because they do not have anything to store. So that is the reason you do not get mailbox database selection option while creating mail user or mail contact. Same way you can create mail user one, external email address, mail user at gmail.com. Again, it will ask you if this is existing user or new user. Let's create a new user. First name, mail, last name, user one, and you'll select the OU. Let's select users. Now mail user need a logon account. So let's give it a username, mail user one, and a password, and click save. That's it. This is how you can create mail user and mail contact. Next is shared mailbox. To create a shared mailbox, you can click on plus and give it a name, shared one, for example, shared one alias, select the OU. Next, you can add the users if you want to assign permissions, and you can select the mailbox database where you want to store this shared mailbox, and you can enable archive for this shared mailbox as well. Again, you will have to select the database name where you want to store the archive mailbox for this shared mailbox, and then click save. It will say you haven't granted anyone permission to receive or send email for this shared mailbox. You can do it later as well, so click on yes. And if you want to assign permissions, you will double click on the shared mailbox, then go to mailbox delegation. Under mailbox delegation, you can assign full access or send as permission on the shared mailbox. So as an admin, if you'll assign full access on this shared mailbox, let's say for test user, now test user will go to either Outlook client or OWA, and he can add this shared mailbox within his Outlook or OWA profile. And he can access all the emails or the calendar items of this shared mailbox. Send as permission is used to send emails by using a particular email address. For example, if you will add test user under send as permission, so test user will be able to send emails using the email address of shared mailbox. Once you have made the changes, you can click save and you can add permissions. Next is public folders. If you want to create public folders, before that, you need to create a public folder mailbox because public folders use public folder mailboxes to store the information. So go to public folder mailboxes, click on plus, and here you can create a public folder mailbox, give it a name, and then select organizational unit. Let me create a different OU for this. I need to log in again. Right click, new, and let's give it name PF or public folder. Go back. Let me open this again. PF mailbox one, browse, select PF, click OK. Next, you will select the mailbox database where you want to store this public folder mailbox and then click save. Once you have created public folder mailboxes, go to public folders, click on plus. Now, the first public folder that you will create within your Exchange organization, that will be called root public folder. Next is public folder permissions. If you want to assign certain permissions for users on the public folders, as an administrator, you can do it from Exchange Admin Center and from PowerShell as well. You can go to Manage and click on plus and then click Browse, add the user, and then you can add the permission level. From permission level, you can select if you want to assign reviewer permission, contributor, or owner, or a custom permission. If you select owner, then by default, all the permission levels will be checked. If you select any other permission, let's say contributor, so based on the permission level, the level of the services or the authorization will be assigned to the user. If you want to know more about public folders, you want to know the architecture, how permissions work, how to manage public folders or public folder mailboxes from Exchange Admin Center or from PowerShell, I have created a series that is already posted on my channel. You can go through it. I'll share the link within the comment section. In case you have missed it or you want to go through it again, you can follow the link and you can watch the videos. In the next video, we will be talking about transport pipeline and its components in Exchange 2019. We will discuss how transport pipeline helps in email routing in Exchange server organization. So that is all for now. I will see you all in the next video. Thank you guys. Thank you for your time. Take care.